So, My Hero Academia 296 basically confirms that, yeah, the heroes lost, and it was bad. I mean, was it really that bad when you think about it? I mean, sure, a lot of buildings got destroyed, a lot of civilians most likely died, a lot of heroes got injured, and a lot of heroes died. But I mean, at least no major heroes died. Am I right? Oh, yeah. I guess they did die. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here, coming at you with another discussion video about My Hero Academia. Specifically in this video, I want to go over the casualties of this Paranormal Liberation Front war. Specifically, I want to talk about the deaths that happened on both sides, and also like the injuries that happened on both sides and how they're going to impact the story moving forward. And before I get into that, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Big Blue True 97, as well as leave a like and a comment down below if you like this type of content, so I can continuously make it and hopefully get on the schedule and hopefully grow this channel even more. And now, without the way, let's get right into talking about the deaths. So for starters, before we get into the deaths, I've actually made a video, which I'm going to put somewhere up here, talking about my thoughts on who I thought was going to die in this war, and I'm going to put it somewhere over there, most likely. But the main gist of it is, like, a few people that I thought was going to die was going to die. Exless was going to die. There was no surprise there. Crust died, which that's something else that I predicted, but I also kind of predicted that a major character was going to die. I predicted that a teacher was going to die, and I gave my explanations why, and I may give a little bit more explanation here. But I kind of predicted that Midnight was going to die. Rest in peace, Midnight. But you know what? It makes sense with how the story is portrayed, not just for like the growth of the characters, but how this war played out. Because for the most part, the war was one-sided one way, one-sided the other way, but then began to even out towards the end, where the heroes took like a lot of wins at the beginning, and then the villains took a lot of wins, and then it started to go back and forth. And when it came to Midnight, that is where the wins and the loss began to peter out, and she appeared to have died, and we eventually get the confirmation in Manga chapter 296 that she did die. And this is very important because we do get a list of people that died, and I'm also going to talk about the heroes that lived, because that is also important for the story moving forward. But Midnight died. And why is this important? Because it's going to impact the students, not just class 1A, but class B, because these students, the teacher who taught them over the past year how to be heroes, that encouraged them, that like helped foster their growth into the heroes that they are now, is dead. She died, for the most part, giving them the responsibility to go after Gigantomachia. So for the most part, like, the characters that are probably going to be affected by her death most, like if we had to pinpoint them, would probably be Momo, would probably be Ashido, probably Kirishima. They probably will be affected the most, but specifically Momo, because she was the last person to talk to Midnight before she died, and she was one of the people that found her dead body. So she is going to go through like a whole lot of stress. She may have PTSD about her talking to Midnight, finding her dead body, and she's gonna have things to say. But I think this is going to lead to her growing more as a leader, not just leading her class, but just leading people that she doesn't know, just to grow as a leader. And the other person that's probably going to grow from this a lot is Ashido, Mina, because here's the thing. Yes, Gigantomachia did like rampage of the city, and Midnight tried to stop this from happening, but she was caught in debris, and we don't really know how she died. Here's the thing, we don't know how she died. She could have died from like head trauma from being hit in the rock by a Mr. Compress and his marbles, but Kaminari was also hit by rock as well, and he survived, so that could have been the case. The fall could have killed her. She could have been attacked by other villains that could have killed her. But here's the thing, is it possible that that could have been avoided, or that Midnight could have been saved if Ashido, if Mina threw the anesthetic into Gigantomachia's mouth? Could that have happened? And I think that there's a possibility, or could it, if she did in Kirishima, also through the anesthetic in his mouth, could that have put Gigantomachia to sleep faster, which would have given the heroes more time to help others, which could have led to Midnight surviving? We don't know, but then again, Mina wouldn't know that as well. So she may also succumb to like having issues with her confidence, having issues with the fact that maybe she could blame herself for Midnight's death because if she didn't do X, if she didn't throw the anesthetic in the mouth, maybe this all could have been avoided. She could have that type of idea going through her mind, and that could affect her negatively. And we could see that negative development in the story, and then have Kirishima like help her in the same way that he helped her so that she could become a better hero as well. So that's very important, and that could play even more to other heroes in Class 1A and 1B growing into more leadership roles, knowing that that teacher died, as well as how she died protecting them. And that ties into another hero that we also know that died is Majestic. And even though we don't know a whole lot about Majestic, he was the one who saved Momo in the gang. The Villa team that backed up the other heroes. He was the reason why they survived, and he died for that. And that's also going to affect Momo as well as these other heroes as well. That the person who risked their lives to save them from Gigantomachia died basically because of him. So that's going to most likely lead more development and more character growth for the people and the students who are at the villa. And now we're getting more into like the lower tier of the heroes that died. You have Crust, which like I said, there's going to be a video up there where I predict that Crust is going to die. And really, Crust's death is also important because without his death, Aizawa would not have survived. He would have most likely been decayed, and if he had decayed, then Shigaraki would have been at full force, meaning that most likely Endeavor wouldn't have been able to put up as much of a fight as he did. Deku would have had to fight a strong Shigaraki, and the villains could have theoretically won if Crust did not die. So he plays a crucial role in like really showing like how the heroes, even though they didn't win, they could have had a greater loss if Crust hadn't have died. And then you have just the smaller minor death of heroes. But another death that's, even though it's minor, it could have played a role in a certain character's development, is that we saw that Native was among the heroes that were dead. And you may be thinking, Native, I remember that name, but I really don't remember where he's from. Well, you remember that during the Hero Killer Stain arc, Native was the hero that Ida found in the alleyway almost being killed by Stain, and how because of that, Stain told Ida, like, yo, you want to be a hero, start by saving this person, Native. So we see that Native is dead, and that may impact like Deku a little bit, Shoto a little bit. It may most likely affect Ida because he realized, hey, that's a hero that I failed to save. He's dead now. It can help him grow into a better hero. Now, it would probably be better if Manuel died, but I think it will play similar roles for Ida in his growth and development. And just a horrible thing I want to say about this. Ida tried to save Native. Deku saved Native. Shoto saved Native. Native was alive. And I think he also participated in like the overall arc as well. I may be wrong about that, but he survived. He lived. And Hirokoshi said, you know what? I'm going to let Native live, not be killed by Stain, so he could die in a war. Really, Hirokoshi? You have to be that type of writer? I'm not hating it. I'm just saying, like, it's just really funny to me. Just as funny as how Exless died, because frankly, who cares about Exless? No one cares about Exless. No one. Which is fine that he died, but his death, and actually, you know what? I take that back. Exless' death was not really impactful, but it gave a different like view on how Exless, how he was able to destroy the machine with the quirky racing bullets, and puts more into context how, even though we thought that Exless, like, why didn't you kill him? Why didn't you kill Shigaraki? Why didn't you put like a laser through his head? Like, why didn't you do that? We get a little bit more context in chapter 296 where, yeah, Shigaraki was dead. And the reason why Exless didn't really bother with him was because he was dead. And the only reason why he came back is because of his sheer hatred in his heart and just him willing himself to live. So his death also is kind of lays into the idea of like the reason why Shigaraki was like this. And like, sure, he could have like put a bullet in his head, but why beat a dead horse? It's already dead. Why kill a dead person? He's already dead. So, yeah, I guess he kind of played a big role in all of this. But, it's still Exless, so whatever. And with that little idea, and he played a crucial role. But then there are also a few other heroes that we saw that we really didn't know very well. But, like, they were characters that we saw like before the arc ended. For example, we saw the snake dude who is confirmed to be dead, who had like snake arms that captured Mr. Compress and Toga. Twice his clone killed him, and that's very cool because another person that we see on the list, the really young looking dude with like the mask with the holes in his mouth, it's confirmed that that's dead, and you may be thinking like, oh, why is he important? Because he was the dude who called out like the snake hands dude. It's like, hey, weren't you the one that caught Compress and Toga? And then he got his throat slit, confirming that he died, and that was a death caused by Toga disguised as the snake dude. So we didn't really get a whole lot from him, really nothing at all, but just showing that confirmed that he died and was killed by Toga. That was also cool. Let's talk more of the metaphorical or metaphysical casualties, specifically the heroes that took massive damage, and they may not be in top condition as they were prior. They may not be in the best condition to really be heroes, or they may retire, or they may be hospitalized for a while. Let's talk about those heroes. And to start off, let's talk about the heroes that we just don't know the status of, because we know in the villa, specifically the heroes in the villa, we have some confirmed that are dead. We can like say that, oh, if they're not on that list of heroes that are dead, they may still be alive, and that's a possibility, but we don't know how injured these are. We got Fat Gum, we got Sun Eater, we got Kamui Woods. He's alive, but we don't know how injured he is. You have Kamui Woods and Mount Lady. We don't really know like how injured they are, whether or not they can continue to be heroes, or if they want to be heroes. But then on the other hand, we have heroes like Endeavor, Miracle, Ox, Gran Torino, Aizawa, Ryuku. These are some heroes that took massive damage here. Like, Hawks lost his wings. We don't even know if he could be able to regrow his wings, so that means that he may not be able to be a hero anymore. Endeavor's reputation is gone. He may try to still be a hero, but people may not like him. People may not look up to him, and because of that, Hero Society may begin to crumble even more. Miracle lost an arm, took damage to her legs, lost an ear. She took heavy damage. And then we also have Ryukugu. We don't know if she's dead or not, but she's most likely unconscious. She took a whole lot of damage. She took like a Shigaraki fist in the hand, as well as Shigaraki slamming into her, so she's taking a whole lot of damage. And then you have Gran Torino, who may at worst be retired and at best dead, because Shigaraki crushed his leg and, as far as we know, put a hole in his chest, so like he has to go through recovery. He may be dead, he may be alive, but at very least he can no longer be a hero. He's going to be permanently retired, as well as like Aizawa Eraserhead, who lost an arm, took damage to his eyes again, so he may recover, but he's going to be completely handicapped, like physically. He won't be able to move as much. He could get prosthetic leg, as well as Miracle get a prosthetic arm, but that's still going to weaken their ability to be heroes, as well as like damage to his eye. He may not be able to use erasures effectively. He may not be able to even open up his right eye. It may be permanently closed. We just don't know, but we know that these heroes took massive damage, and they may or may not be able to be heroes in the future, which is very important because the next arc that we're going to go into is a jailbreak arc, and you need as many heroes as necessary to prevent All For One from getting out. And with those casualties in mind, we also have like a lot of students that, well, not a whole lot, but like some of the students, some of the children really got hurt in this war as well. And that's not going to be a very great look on Hero Society, because if a child dies, because we don't know if any children died, we know that a character named Funkman is dead, and most likely he could have been a student. So if a student died in this war, that's going to even look worse for the Hero Society, because it means that you sent children into this war to die, and you didn't even stop the villains. That's going to look worse on them. But we have Funkman, who could potentially be a child hero. He's dead. As I said, we don't know the condition of Sun Eater, but we know that Deku wrecked both of his arms and legs. He may not be able to use his arms anymore. He may be able to use his legs, but he's taking so much damage, and he may be like paralyzed. He's definitely most likely crippled, but he could maybe no longer use his arms anymore. You may be thinking, well, we have Eri. She could rewind it. Well, we don't know, because we have to also remember his arms have already taken damage, and they may be a point where it may take like Eri a few months to rewind him back to somewhat be able to like work his arms. It may even take 6 months like it did with Mirio to get his quirk. Heck, it could take an entire year. And if Deku can't be a hero for like a month or a year, that's going to be very detrimental for his ability to be like the #1 hero. Even just to be a hero in general, if he can't use his arms and his legs to fight, which is very important for a brawler, but it may force him to rely more on Black Whip. We just don't know, but this is going to lead to him most likely developing more as a character as well as more as a hero, because he will most likely have consequences for the actions of using one for all full strength without having full control of it. He's gonna most likely have complete consequences for that. But then we also have characters like Nejire, who was burned by Dabi, as well as Shota, who's burned by Dabi, but they may be like just supplemental, like superficial like wounds that may like affect their actual look, but they may not affect how they are able to fight. But then you have Bakugo, who took like multiple stabbings by a controlled Shigaraki by All For One. He was stabbed and he was barely able to breathe, and he's unconscious, so he may not be able to function well as a hero later on. But luckily enough for him, as far as we know, he hasn't been burned or anything, so like he can still do sweat. So yeah, he may not be able to breathe as well or do everything as well as he probably could, but he's still growing. He could like get over that and he could still be a hero. But still, overall, not a lot of the children were hurt or injured. Also, Kaminari was hit by a rock, but he seems to be okay. Some of the students at the villa were burned by Dabi flames, but they don't seem to have taken a whole lot of damage. So relatively speaking, a lot of pro heroes died. A lot of pro heroes were severely damaged, but for the most part, besides Deku, Bakugo, Nejire, Shoto, Kaminari, not a lot of the students were really injured. Potentially a student died, which is still horrible, but overall, like, the kids came out of this really unscathed, which is amazing, meaning that they may have to take up the mantle. If a lot of heroes are unable to be heroes, a lot of the pro heroes can't work, the students may have to pick up the slack, and they've shown that they can. So that could lead potentially into future arcs. And here's something very interesting. We also get the confirmation of characters we thought were dead, but are actually alive. Specifically, as well as that, we get the confirmation of certain heroes still being alive. You have Mandalave, she's still alive. We thought she died in the decay, as well as Wash. He survived. Wash, 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 wash. As well as we get the confirmation that 13 is also alive with her Dark Hole quirk, so she's alive, so she's still there. I'm surprised by that. So we get those heroes are still alive, which is good, meaning that it's not a complete wash for the hero side, but they still took a lot of damage and a lot of injuries, and these injuries are most likely going to play on either in the Tartarus arc coming up and just later on in the story, because you're going to have a whole lot of heroes that are not going to be on full strength potentially die in this arc. We don't get that confirmation of certain hero deaths. It's still very possible. A lot of heroes can die after the fact, and we just don't know. So overall, the heroes took a whole lot of damage. A lot of heroes died. A lot of heroes were injured. But then on the flip side, the only things that they've lost is the death of Twice. A lot of the villains came out of this unscathed. Sure, a lot of the original Paranormal Liberation Front members were captured, but at least 132 escaped, including Toga. Gigantomachia was captured, which sucks, and Mr. Compress was captured, but sucks. But they're, as far as we know, still alive. The only real death and casualty in this war is with, obviously, the Hayanomus, but because they're corpses, they can be remade. But we also have to remember that the heroes also captured Kudaigaraki, which is very bad. But now that we know that there's going to be the Tartarus arc, them breaking out of jail, that's really inconsequential because he could just be broken out, as well as with Gigantomachia and Mr. Compress. So it just depends on how that arc will continue. But overall, like, really, the villains only lost to like a lot of like scrubs that would have done nothing, but they came out with 132 still on the run, part of the army that will eventually meet up with Shigaraki. So 132 people escaped. Shigaraki escaped, as well as some of the OG League of Villains escaped. So basically, they came out of this like not great, but a lot better than the heroes did, if not better than the heroes did. So yeah, a lot of casualties on both sides, but the heroes probably took a lot more than the villains ever would have. So if I were to say, and I may make a video about this on which side won and which side lost, precursor for that, I think the heroes definitely lost. The villains, that's something I can talk about a little bit more, but this could be counted as a win and a loss for them as well. So, overall, that's all the thoughts I have to say about this chapter, as well as the deaths, the casualties of the heroes and villains. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed recording it. What do you think? Do you think that there are more heroes that die? Do you think that we're going to get more like major hero deaths? Do you think Gran Torino is going to die? Do you think Edgeshot, Kamui Woods? Do you think the Lurkers are going to survive? Is Mount Lady alive? Oh my gosh, if Mount Lady dies, man, Mineta loses two of his best waifus. Man, I feel so sorry for Mineta. But leave your thoughts in your comments down below. Leave a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so. Check out my video somewhere over there. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and until next time, do all of that cool jazz. Ooh, and I will catch you in the next video. Goodbye!